My first view is that influencer marketing should be an essential part of a marketing plan.
It's still the question about how to measure influencer marketing, how to measure the return of my investment.
People are trusting individuals more than traditional advertising, more than ever, particularly amongst Gen Z and millennials. They're more likely to connect with their content creator or their influencer because, of course, they've been brought up with that.
And engaging with the influencers to promote something that is beyond commercial objective, let's say.
One of the biggest reasons why brands should want to connect with influencers because they have shared values. Where that is totally aligned, that's where the magic happens. The instantaneousness of visual stimulus followed by a call to action is quite phenomenal.
In today's episode, we'll be diving into how you can power up your business and brand growth in 2021 through the power of influencer marketing. COVID-19 posed a great challenge for many businesses around the world, as we all know. And uncertain times are calling out for market experts to reinvent and innovate strategies to secure a long-lasting connection with their audience. Today, I'm so happy and delighted to be joined by an industry leader whose passion for marketing has led him to become a consultant, a speaker, and the global head of influencer marketing at the Branded Content Marketing Association in the United Kingdom. To uncover how influencer marketing can power up your growth, I'm here with Gordon Glenister. Welcome to Influencer Marketing Uncover, Gordon. We are thrilled to have you here today with us. How are you?
My pleasure. It's my pleasure. Lovely to be here.
That's good. So happy to have you here, and then very exciting to be talk all things about influencer marketing with you. So Gordon, let's start with first question. I wanted to know everything about your upcoming book publication. I think the name of the book, tell me if I'm wrong, is Influencer Marketing Strategies, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's launched, official launch is on the 3rd of March. It's taken 18 months to write. And I must admit, I was doing a lot of this during COVID, of course. I don't know if you've written a book before, but I hadn't written a book. I've written articles, but never written a book.
Okay.
And I'm fortunate that I've had a global publisher behind me, which has been absolutely fantastic. But there were certainly moments when I thought, I just can't do this today. So I have a lot of sympathy for bloggers and content creators that must have found during, what has been a quite challenging year. We're in the creative industry, aren't we? So trying to put your thoughts down. I mean, what made a big difference is, of course, I interviewed lots and lots of people from brands, agencies and content creators. So in a way, the book is littered with loads of interviews and comments and thoughts, which I think makes it, a better read overall.
Exciting. And tell me, what can we expect from the book?
A lot of words. 88,000 words.
Wow.
But what I've tried, I tell you what I've tried to do is, I've actually only been in this industry a relatively short period of time. My background actually is in the promotional products industry. I used to head up the trade association for that. So one of the first things I did was launch the Branded Content Marketing Association Influence Division, because I really felt there needed to be some representation for this growing sector that had lots of exciting opportunities, but also challenges. So the opportunity to write a book was just a great way for me to actually think to myself, well, how do I educate myself?
Absolutely.
Rather than being a long-standing practitioner? I think in a way I've tried to make it a relatively simple read as to how best to execute influencer marketing strategy for your business. And so that's why I wrote it more than anything else. And it's been fascinating, but I'm glad it's over.
That's good. I'm very, very excited and congratulations. I always thought about like I really wanted one day to write a book. I don't know what will be the subject, if it's going to be towards influencer marketing or purpose. So but every time I thought about, I go like, oh my God, because it is, it is a hard work to write a book. It's not just, I want to write a book and then you do that in a month and the book is out. So it's a long process.
Yeah, I mean, actually, my sister said to me that she's a leadership coach. She said to me, don't do this in your first year of business. It will swallow you. It will take you a lot longer than you ever think. And she was absolutely right. Because obviously, when you reach out to people, not everybody responds. It takes longer to, write content, get case studies.
Absolutely.
But actually, having a publisher behind you does make a difference, because each month I've got somebody to check in and make sure I've delivered a certain amount of words. So it must be interesting to write a novel, because in the same way you're going to have, they've paid you in advance. You've got to work with deadlines. So
Yeah.
it's
No.
been a really interesting process, I have to say.
Amazing. Congratulations. Very much looking forward to reading it. But let's now go through influencer marketing. Very like wanted to get your perspective about, especially this year 2021. We will continue to see, as we are continuing to see, the pandemic is still here. We are still facing so many challenges, especially brands, on how to still continue to grow their business, and what will be the best approach for them to do that. And of course, the social media, the digital landscape has become such a pivotal, element for any brand strategy, especially nowadays. So, on your view, because even though influencer marketing is still going for a few years now, I started the business 5 years ago, and I can see the evolution from when I started to now, how this industry has evolved and how this industry will continue to evolve. But it's still at the same time, many brands doesn't really know how to navigate it into the influencer marketing industry, or how to do an effective strategy that will give them the return of investment. So it's still, brands, especially when we talk with, startups or, new brands, they still have a lot of question around, how they can grow their business through influencer marketing. And I would love to hear from your perspective, how do you see influencer marketing as part of, a growth strategy for a brand?
No, I think it's a really good question. And education still remains the biggest challenge that we all have as practitioners to get over to brands. I mean, what's really interesting though, those organizations that are already doing influencer marketing are seeing the signs of success and are continuing to invest
Yeah.
more and more. I mean, brands like Estee Lauder were saying 75% of their marketing budget was going to be spent in this sector. It's true that certain industries are better suited to influencer marketing. We know that beauty, fashion, we know that travel, gaming, of course, has been huge
Yeah.
over the last year. So I often say to organizations that have never done this before, and trying to navigate through this landscape is quite difficult, use an expert. There are plenty of influencer marketing agencies out there, influencer marketing platforms that allow you to search and find influencers that are relevant to your target audience, and strategists as well that will make it a lot easier. Because the ROI case is a really fascinating one. Lots of research suggests that it can deliver sort of 11 times more ROI than many other forms of advertising. But I'll caveat by saying when done well. In other words, when implementing a proper process, in other words, making sure that you've got, your proper goals in place. I mean, once upon a time, influencer marketing in the early days was just largely about creating brand awareness. That's not the case now. It's
No.
now what we've got is amazing individuals that are driving huge amounts of sales volumes and downloads, and connections with retail online brands, and particularly in the fashion sector. I mean, I'm amazed by how some of the affiliate marketing works extremely well.
Wow.
And I'm sure you've seen the same, Mara. Yeah, I mean, I think my first view is that influencer marketing should be an essential part of a marketing plan. Work with experts, make sure that I mean, there's plenty of advice even online to establish how and best to achieve this. But maybe sometimes it's worth trying putting a little bit of your budget, and there are also organizations out there that will actually provide a trial campaign for you. But do work with experts. Sometimes don't try and do it yourself if you're not sure, because you will make mistakes and it will take a lot longer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think to your point, Gordon, when it's like just start small to test the water is the secret to influencer marketing, especially when our organization or our company is too new to that influencer marketing element into their marketing strategy, because there's a lot of questions still from brands, and I talk that because of our clients, and when you're pitching for new clients, it's still the question about how to measure, influencer marketing, how to measure the return of my investment. And what I always say is that influencer marketing, it's not going to bring you the results straight away. That is all about consistency. It's not that you're going to invest 10,000, 20,000 pounds, and then you're going to put few influencers out there and you're going to have thousands of downloads and thousands of sales, because it's still influencer marketing is a combination of brand awareness and conversion, but you don't see the conversion straight away. So influencer marketing is very important for brands to understand that it has to be an always on program within their marketing strategy, because you have to keep putting your brand out there as a format of educating about your brand, resonating with the right audience, and creating the awareness that eventually it will become and will convert into sales and into downloads. How do you see that, when you look at the influencer marketing and the metrics to measure influencer marketing? What is your view on that? What should be brands be focusing on when it comes to metrics and evaluate results?
Well, obviously there's so many now, and sometimes you can be sort of overloaded with all the different variants, and it depends, of course, on which channel. But I think the most important thing is things like comments and sentiment. I think it's very easy just to be driven by what I call vanity metrics. Is how many likes have I got? But really, what we need to be doing is deep diving. And again, there's lots of platforms and supports that are out there to analyze this really, really well. I'm a great fan of sentiment and looking at what people are actually saying about your product, not just the likes. Also, the share, content that's shared as well. That's a big one to measure. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about consistency as well. Things don't happen overnight. I mean, even blogs, if you think about and video, these is evergreen content.
Absolutely.
So when a campaign is finished, it's still delivering. I know that people have told me that, blogs that they've had a year ago is still delivering that awareness and activation, 12 months in.
Yeah.
And I think that's, whereas if you think about a billboard, or a bus shelter ad, after the 6 weeks, it's gone.
It's gone. So true.
And I also think that we've got more, people are trusting individuals more than traditional advertising, more than ever, particularly amongst Gen Z and millennials. In fact, I saw a stat just recently which sort of staggered me, saying that only 1% of them trust traditional advertising. You know, they're more likely to connect with their content creator or their influencer because, of course, they've been brought up with that. Whereas, you know, myself of slightly older years, you know, this is still relatively new to us as a sector. So, you know, and there's always going to be people that dismiss influencer marketing as well. And I think one of the other challenges that has faced us, of course, is a media that is, you know, isolated certain aspects of influencer marketing, which I think has unnerved some organizations and brands about it. Well, should we? And what if we don't get the right people? How do we measure it? So I think there's a lot of organizations that what I would call are on the edge of doing something. And it's not until sometimes their competitors start to do it that they start to realize, oh my goodness, you know. I saw a fantastic video. I don't know if you saw it, from Oral-B. Oral-B do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they do a lot of amazing.
I love it. Really, really great. Where it was using a dust cart, and you know the side bar that it normally scoops up all of the. Well, it was using one of their Oral-B toothbrushes, and it was using it as I just loved it. It's
genius.
Really is really great stuff out there.
And to your point about like videos becoming a lifetime, you know, content is so true. And TikTok is the platform that's proving that video can continue to give brand awareness and results for brands, because TikTok is a platform where your video today can have 20,000 views, and tomorrow your video can be on 1 million views, because the algorithm of TikTok resonates very different from other platforms. So I think TikTok is a great example that video is, you know, definitely a type of content orientation that will bring results, awareness for brands in a lifetime, you know, period, because the video always going to be there. It's the same as you mentioned about, you know, about the blogs, which is very fascinating, you know, to think that, you know, one piece of content can continue to give you, you know, results unlimited. As you mentioned about the billboards, it's there, and then after 1 month it's gone, where on social you can have it there and continue to bring you that, you know, the awareness.
And I think with what's happened over COVID, of course, a lot of us have been inside, so that we you know, some of the other advertising has suffered hugely. I mean, if you think about cinema advertising,
oh my God,
generally
yes,
out of home has had a really bad time of it. So these brands have got still, you know, quite extensive marketing budgets, and what they need guidance of often is to know where to spend it to deliver the greatest return.
absolutely.
What COVID has done is, if you can imagine so many brands out there that have had strategic plans, it's almost like the jigsaw puzzle has been shaken up.
They have to change.
And they have to change. And for some of these organizations, this level of pivoting is unwarranted, but it's those organizations that are making radical steps forward, and showing their true credentials, particularly in times of difficulty, that are really, really doing well, and others will be just left behind. I mean,
absolutely.
For example, the retail space, the physical retailers that don't have a strong online presence are really, well, we've seen what's happened with Topshop, some of the others, you know, that's going to only grow further. In fact, I happen to know the Director General of the British Independent Retail Association, and he was telling me recently that there'll be 30% less retail stores on the high street in the next 2 or 3 years, you know, because people are changing the way they consume stuff.
Yeah, and taking the link of like people will change the way they consume. We already seeing this, right? Especially as you said, during the pandemic. I think it was in a way a wake-up call for everyone to rethink the way we consume, to rethink what we are following, what we are buying. And with the movement that we saw last year with Black Lives Matters, the LGBT movement, it increased that mindset of especially the young generation, the millennials and Gen Zers, that they are much more mindful about what they buy, because they wanted to buy into brands that are being part of something meaningful. They wanted to be part, they wanted to engage with brand that has value, and they're showing value through the way they communicate it. And when we go back to the link with the retailers, how does retailers can be part of this movement and engaging with the influencers to promote something that is beyond commercial objective, let's say, but
Yeah.
partner with influencers to be part of a movement and pass a message that is relevant and that people will engage with your product, not just because of the product, but because of the brand value behind that product.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the biggest reasons why brands should want to connect with influencers, because they have shared values.
Absolutely.
Where that is totally aligned, that's where the magic happens.
Absolutely. And with the retailers, again, to your point, I feel like the retailers, they are taking more time to react and to think, okay, this is happening, and how can, as a brand, as an organization, I can be authentic and think outside the box and react it quickly, because now it's all about react quickly and think, okay, this old format, it's not gonna be here in any time soon. So it's everything is changed, the world is evolving, the world is changing. So how retailers can navigate into this amazing live streaming shopping that will transform the industry,
I
right? So
love it.
what is your thought about it? Because I feel like sometimes, and especially like talking with our clients and with people from the industry, the importance of brands to leverage now for e-shop live streaming. This is the future. So I'd love to hear, your thoughts on that, and how do you see live streaming shopping, going moving forward?
I love it. I must admit, I love the idea that you can be. I mean, what brands want to try and do is bring their product to life. So I
Yeah,
think this is where video can make such a great difference. It really, really does. If you think about going into a retail store, today, honestly, it's quite bland, isn't it? I mean, you've got a load and loads of
yes,
clothes. Let's just say clothes. You'll have the odd mannequin where you can see maybe a layout for whoever, and that's why people are backwards and forwards to the changing room. Whereas what you've got now online is you've got individuals, influencers that actually can create visual identities. You can identify with that individual and say, yeah, wow, I want to look like her. And within a heartbeat, she's changed her look and style. And again, and again. Oh, I like that. Oh, in fact, I want to buy it. The instantaneousness of visual stimulus followed by a call to action is quite phenomenal. Plus, you can buy wherever, at 11 o'clock at night. You can.
absolutely.
This is what I think really excites me. But it's not just about the retail space. If you think about, I saw something the other day with Volkswagen that was trying to promote one of their cars. So it's got their advert about the car, but of course it's bringing it to life by saying, right now, do you like this? Click to book your test drive. And it's so easy for that to happen.
Sure.
So I do love it. And I think actually I think that brands are going to be left behind if they don't embrace it, because as a brand always needs to know where their audience are or where they're going, and not be behind the curve. And I think what this last year has done is it's seen who the true innovators are.
Absolutely.
People like Nike and others that have really embraced not only creativity but sensitivity of posting, giving back to the community,
Yes.
and being super engaging with their content.
No,
So
absolutely. And that giving back to the community. I love that that you said, because it will be like all about giving back to the community. It's not just about what is good is making to the organization, to the brand, but how this brand is also, engaging the consumer, but also giving it back. Which for me, it's beautiful to see that this changing is happening. And going back to the live streaming shopping, what I love about it is because you can buy immediately, right? So it's not about, it's a call to action that drives into sale straight away. And again, like as you said, like to go to the shops, are we really going to go back to the shops in the future? I have a question mark about that.
Not unless they change the whole experience. 72% of millennials want experiences now in their life. That's what their life is all about, is experiences. So brands have got to constantly create experiential marketing, and it's better.
Absolutely.
And bring products to life. And that's why some of the agencies, and I'm sure you do as well, when they involve influencers, they suggest what I call brand immersion. So they invite the influencers to the company, to the factory, to the showroom, understand how the product is being made, because these individuals are selling on your behalf. And I'm a great believer in not just using influencers amplifiers, but using them as integral part of your.
Absolutely. 100%. We at Imaging Power, we embrace this quite highly here. Like like, I truly believe in, as a company, as an agency, that when you involved the influencer to co-create with the brand, to co-create a product or to co-create a campaign narrative, or to invite them for a unique experience, is when you get the real connection between the brand and the influencer. So I'm a truly believer that in the future we will see more and more influencers and brands collaborating together to co-create. How can small and medium-sized companies can leverage when investing on influencer marketing? Do you think small brands that are just like startup should be considering to go straight away if it is a new service? Or what's your thoughts about small business creating their business straight from social?
I think 100%. In fact, actually, I think it's one of the biggest benefits of influencer marketing, particularly if you're embracing, nano influencers.
Yep.
With smaller audiences and a range of them. I mean, for example, a typical restaurant opening could be a perfect example of using a bunch of nano influencers, and maybe it's a gifting campaign to start with, and the restaurant owner invites a number of influencers along to an opening night, makes a big bash, and obviously the influencers can invite some friends and guests along. And I know somebody that did that last year, and he said that one influencer alone has driven an additional 5 bookings for me.
Wow,
so and that's something that can, and I know Sheesh in Chigwell, which is quite a famous restaurant,
yes,
is always talking about it, and a lot of the influencers are. So we just highlighted a restaurant there, but it could be all sorts of different businesses. For me, it's about developing a relationship first.
absolutely,
with these people, and Instagram is a good place to start, of course, which is where a lot of influencer marketing is based. But you're dealing with human beings here, and remember that about 65% of influencers that receive inbound direct messages do not respond to them. And that's because sometimes no thought has been placed about what they're getting out of it, particularly if it's not funded. So I do, and I'm sure you do, advise clients to be very careful about how and the approach that they take Think about what the influencer, they've taken a long time to build up an audience. And even if it's 10,000 followers, that's still significant to start.
Absolutely.
And if they've got a good engagement rate, they're not going to sell out a brand if it doesn't resonate with their audience. So I think it's really important that what I suggest is finding some of those influencers that could be ideal target for you. And then before you reach out to them, start to like some of the content that they're already producing. Maybe comment on that and say, yeah, I love what you're doing here. Because actually, if you want a positive reaction from some of those people, that's what's going to resonate well with them. So the answer is yes, definitely, but think about your strategy carefully and approach them with care, consideration, and value.
Absolutely. Love that. Another point, Gordon, that like here for us, like for every campaign or every strategy we're doing, we are taking this in consideration, which is diversity and inclusion, right? How important is for brands when they're putting a strategy together to think about being diversity and be inclusivity. How do you think these two elements can, added into an influencer marketing strategy? So what is your view on that?
I feel quite strongly about it, actually. I think, in fact, one of the BCMA members actually in America was telling me a little while ago that if they're asked to recommend a group of influencers and they have then recommended a broad, diverse mix, and the client then chooses only, for example, the white influencers or whatever, then they would argue that isn't representative of their policy as an agency.
Absolutely.
Also, that they should be mindful of what message that is giving out to a broad audience. So I think it's one of those things that you should always ensure is part of the brief.
Mm-hmm.
Have we covered the wide range? Because any business has got a broad, diverse range of customers.
For sure.
By having diversity of influence means that you're reaching those audiences and cultures as well. I'm always amazed by interesting and exciting content that sometimes overwhelms the brand. I think, wow, I'm amazed by what is coming out of this. This is what excites me about influencer marketing. Brands don't have the monopoly on great ideas.
Absolutely. And what I love about, and not just what I love about, what I believe that diverse and inclusive, it's such a core value that every business should be considering. Because again, when you go back to the Gen Zers and to the millennials, they're looking to engage with brands that are being diverse and are being inclusive. Because I don't feel like we have space nowadays, especially for not being inclusivity or having the diversity into the influencers that you work with.
And also, there's evidence of brands being called out online.
Absolutely.
So that could be a detrimental impact to your organization. And you may have heard of the influencer pay gap, which is growing in momentum. And I'm very applauding of the individual behind that, because in a way it's about making sure that influencers are fairly rewarded right across the diversity.
No, absolutely. And I think the brands, they should do, that in a very, authentic way, being real about it. Just like, oh, I wanted to be inclusive in my campaigns, and I wanted to have, Black influencer, LGBTs on my campaign, but this has to be real, because the consumers now, especially again, the young generation, they are smart. They know when a brand is promoting something that is very true, or when the brand is promoting just because they need to do that in order to be seen as, as a good brand that is having this diverse element into it. We have been working with Bumble, a dating app, is one of our clients. And last year in October, we did a campaign in October to celebrate the Black History Month. And it was incredible to see the reaction once we launched the campaign, because the narrative was to show that my Black love is, because if you Google today, my Black love is, you don't see much about Black love. You only see about white love. And, it's so important to let them to speak out about love as equally as white people, let's say.
Right.
And the reaction that we saw on PR and Twitter as soon as we launched the campaign was spectacular, because people feel connected with brands that are raising important awareness, like, let's celebrate the Black History Month and let's celebrate Black love. So for us as an agent to be involved on campaigns that are truly bring it value and bringing those attention to the audience and consumer, it's very key for us. And Gordon, last question here for you, because I would love to stay here forever talking, but I wanted to know my final question to you is, like, where do you see influencer marketing going in the next 5 years? What is your prediction?
I think it's going to get bigger. We're talking about $15 billion by 2022. And I still think that's an understatement.
Yes.
I think that we're going to start to see the rise of the professional content creator, influencer marketing. In other words, individuals that know and understand their value, their worth, they know the stats, they're their own creative mini agency, if you will. I definitely see a higher level of co-created brands. I mean, if you look at China, for example, which has been exemplars of co-creation of products, which probably about 3 years ahead of us, that has been phenomenal. I certainly see a growth in virtual influencers, CGI, as brands start to use individuals that help convey really great stories. I mean, little Michaela, I think it's got about 3 million followers. Actually, you know what makes me laugh? When I show this to my friends that don't know much about influencer marketing, they can't get their head around it. What else? B2B influencers, absolutely. So it's not just about beauty and fashion. I think we're going to start to see the pharmaceutical influencers, and we've actually seen that, of course, with lots and lots of doctors shining the light really over the COVID and vaccination programs. But I think we'll start to see other sectors embracing it. I mean, I've been a bit concerned at the way that the media is malign the word influencers. I still believe in the principle that influencer is a very powerful word. You are in a position of affecting change. But of course, a lot of influencers prefer to be called content creators or entrepreneurs or whatever. Either way, they have influence.
Absolutely.
And I think the future's rosy. I think there's more education to be done, and I'm really excited about what we're doing at the BCMA with the London School of Arts to create an influencer marketing qualification. So that's exciting. I mean, as I say, I think it's rosy. Lots of exciting things on the future, really.
Incredible. I'm with you, Gordon. I don't see influencer marketing going anywhere. I only see this landscape and this industry continue to grow, continue to evolve, and authenticity being the core of it. How brands can, continue to be part of this movement, but also added the authenticity and the experiential element into it. I see that as the big future for this industry.
Absolutely.
Gordon, thank you so much for being here with me today on our Influencer Marketing Uncovered podcast. congratulations again for the launch of your book. As I said, looking forward to reading it. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. And we will keep in touch. And I will soon be joining Gordon on his podcast. So we will be continue to talk about this influencer marketing industry that we all love so much, right?
Oh, wonderful. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everyone that has joining us today. Be sure to tune in to our next episode. Thank you so much for being watching, for being listening to our Influencer Marketing Uncover podcast, a podcast by MG Empower. Thank you so much, and looking forward to see you on our next episode. Thank you so much, Gordon, again.
My pleasure.